Hello, rock and roll fans. I'm inside the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame gallery to announce the 2022 nominees for induction into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. These 17 artists have had a massive impact on the music we all love and we celebrate each day inside this museum. The nominees are Beck, Pat Benatar, Kate Bush, DEVO, Duran Duran, Eminem, Eurythmics, Judas Priest, Fela Kuti, MC5, New York Dolls, Dolly Parton, Rage Against the Machine, Lionel Richie, Carly Simon, A Tribe Called Quest, and Dionne Warwick. Congratulations to the 2022 nominees.
The man, the myth, the legend.
Jamie,
Jason,
so good to see you, man. Good morning.
Jason Hanley, Vice President of Education, Visitor Engagement at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and one of our audience favorite guests and our good pal, Jason Hanley. Look at you, man.
Great to see you, Jamie. In fact, the last time you and I talked was in person because you were in Cleveland for the 2021 Hall of Fame induction ceremony.
Absolutely. An absolutely epic time, Jason. You look fantastic as always. What a morning, Jason Hanley. And Woo! Can you believe we're here again? First of all, how time just passes.
I know, it's amazing, right? It seems like we just finished the 2021 inductions, and here we are with our 2022 nominees. And I will say the window is a little bit shorter because it used to be the inductions in the spring. We wouldn't announce the new nominees until later in the fall. So now that window has gotten a little bit tighter together.
That makes sense. Okay, so I wasn't daydreaming. Okay, good.
Right.
Good, Jason. Okay, great. Thanks for clarifying that. And before we get to the nominees, just a quick reminder that to be eligible for the nomination, an individual artist or band must have released its first commercial recording at least 25 years, right? Prior?
That's right, exactly.
Nomination. Okay, so let's go quickly through the list. Jason, I know you have a busy day and we appreciate your time as always. We have Beck, look at this list. Beck, Pat Benatar, Kate Bush, DEVO, Duran Duran, Eminem, the Eurythmics, Judas Priest, Fela Kuti, MC5, New York Dolls, Dolly Parton, Rage Against the Machine, Lionel Richie, Carly Simon, A Tribe Called Quest, and Dionne Warwick. Jason, we joke about it every year, but like we do it for a reason. Help us just like unpack this, like overview.
Yeah, I think what is so exciting, and I think we've been seeing this, you know, you and I talked about this with even last year's list of nominees. We're seeing a much, much wider group of styles and sounds and types of artists being represented in these Rock Hall nominations, and quite frankly, in the inductions too. And I think that's a sign of, you know, what you just got at. It's 25 years since their first album. So really, we're looking at artists from the 80s and 90s at this point.
Yeah.
And what we're seeing a lot more inclusion of, if you look at this list, most of these artists had their peak period of their career starting in the 80s and 90s, not earlier than that. So because of that, that's the period where you've got so many different sounds and styles coming out. You've got artists trying new things, you know, bending genres into different ideas, pushing things forward with MTV and music video.
Yeah.
So I think we're just seeing this list that's really exciting in many ways. It represents so many things. So if you say, you know, I'm just this type of fan, there's maybe one or two artists on the list. But if you're a fan of rock and roll and all its different sounds, you just got to look at this and say, wow, what a cool list of people here.
Amazing. So in many ways, Jason, I would think this is a really fun time to do what you do with the Rock Hall because, you know, obviously the Chuck Berrys and the Elvis and the Beatles, that's taken care of. And now it becomes like a really malleable, like interesting, like living thing, right?
Yeah, that's right. And now you can start digging into all these interesting things. You know, you've got some artists on here that were massive chart-topping successes, right?
Yeah.
You know, Pat Benatar, Duran Duran. You've got artists who were experimental and pushing the boundaries like DEVO or Kate Bush. You've got international superstars like Fela Kuti who were taking Afropop and new ideas. And, you know, and then bands who were again, experimenting and pushing the political boundary, like Rage Against the Machine or Tribe Called Quest, who were getting
Right.
messages, or just even classic, incredible singer, songwriters, and musicians like Dolly Parton, Carly Simon, or Dionne Warwick, even. And I think, for like you said, for those of us who work at the museum and love digging into the history, this is a really exciting group of people. And it was, when we heard the list, just shortly beforehand, and had to start putting together all the materials for, the website and for everything else at the museum, we were excited. We were like, all right, it's kind of fun for us. We could dig into all these different sounds and careers of these different groups.
Absolutely, Jason. Let me ask you about a few of the nominees here. Just a few that just piqued my interest. Dolly Parton. Let's start with Dolly Parton, right? Because some say the first question many people are going to say is like Dolly Parton's country. She in Nashville here, she's like lower, but she is like, spare us the outrage. She is everything that rock and roll is about, isn't she, Jason?
She really is, and I think you're absolutely right, Jamie. And it's the type of thing where you say certain artists are always going to come from one area or another. And I think Dolly's an interesting one because it may be one of the first times the Rock Hall now in our nominations has dipped into more of a artist who's seen as a country artist, where there's plenty of people who are inducted. You think of Johnny Cash or Hank Williams and the early influences. But I think you're right. Dolly sort of transcends that idea of just being country. Her songs that she's written, this is a woman who's written over 5,000 songs, and they've been covered by everyone from, Whitney Houston, obviously the first that comes to mind, I Will Always Love You, became a smash international hit. Jolene, covered by so many rock artists. And Dolly covered a lot of rock songs too. You can listen to her catalog, and she does a mean job on she's got a cover of Stairway to Heaven that she does at one point. That's really good,
Unbelievable.
And I think her ability to just be such a great performer, and like you said, her style, everything about her is kind of rock star, right? I mean, she kind of brought the rock star into country in many ways.
100%, Jason. Well said. So Eminem, obviously, his impact is undeniable. Single best-selling artist of the 2000s, 15-time Grammy Award winner. But Jason, thinking about Eminem, his later albums, and I'm talking, let's say from 2009, like Relapse, all the way to now, those in a way are maybe his most impactful and some of his best work, aren't they?
Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, those early records of his are the ones that, like you said, best-selling artist. I mean, that's amazing to think about, right? For a guy who was taking hip hop, he was in the hip hop genre, but he was early on kind of marketed to alternative rock audiences and was all over the place. But he, from the very beginning, even working with Dr. Dre, had this incredible style, and what he was able to do is find his own voice, right? So once he starts making records where he's talking about these sort of personal issues, he's looking at these larger sort of demons that we all have in society and we deal with, and he wasn't afraid to be much more directly political in what he was saying and putting out there. And because he's known as a controversial artist, I think he doesn't feel like he has any boundaries. He can push the limits constantly and put out incredible material. And I agree with you. I think some of his recent work is just so good and really shows an artist who matured and was able to take that skill level he had early on and go to a whole new place with it.
100%, Jason. And man, we could talk to you for 17 hours. Thank you for your time, Jason. But okay, let me ask you about one more, the New York Dolls. I love the Dolls, right? But looking at the Dolls' career, I mean, many labels were scared of the way they dressed and their vulgarity as well. But they were punk before almost anybody else. It's almost like they were way too ahead of their time, right? A lot.
Yeah, and I think that's maybe even one of the reasons why they have been on the ballot a number of times and not been inducted yet. It's because they're sort of in this period where they're clearly in their early days drawing on rock and roll, which all punk was. The Ramones were doing that. The Sex Pistols were doing that. The Clash was doing that.
Yeah.
But the New York Dolls were so early, they were shifting into what would become punk. Again, they were, their dress and style was playing with gender boundaries and pushing the limits there.
Sure.
Many people forget that Malcolm McLaren actually came to the US and managed the New York Dolls for a short time. And when he went back to England and said, I want to start a band and manage a band, that band became the Sex Pistols. So there's direct influence, right? I mean, and David Johansen, just such an incredible singer. So I think the New York Dolls often get forgotten about because people jump right to early punk rock.
Yeah.
But the New York Dolls are the band that really set up that transition. You can think of the Velvet Underground was very similar, right?
Absolutely.
Velvet Underground maybe more on the experimental noise side, but the New York Dolls on the just rock and roll and blasting out great tunes. And I think, that's why they keep coming back on the ballot. Clearly the nominating committee thinks this is a piece of rock and roll history that needs to be recognized. And they're very unique in that. They fit in a really small group of bands who helped transition from rock to punk.
Definitely. I have a soft spot for them. I really hope they get a little momentum this year, Jason. And okay, let me ask you about a few big names. So a few names returned from last year's ballot, DEVO and Kate Bush. But let me ask you about some that didn't. Why do some big names, just fell off the ballot this year? If you don't mind enlightening us, like must have been a really close call there.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting thing. And you bring up a great point. There are some artists who maybe, even do well in the fan vote one year and then don't come back the next year, but then they do eventually show up. Pat Benatar is a good one this year, who did very well in the fan vote and did very well among people being excited about her, didn't get induction, and then was not on the ballot for a year and now is back again. And I think it's this idea to sort of cycle through too, right? Not just to keep putting the same people on the ballot every year, but making sure that an artist who does do well or people are interested in it doesn't quite make it has another chance to come on. And then there's others where, again, I think the nominating committee just keeps coming back to, an artist they really believe, should definitely be inducted. Now, we'll see where that goes in the future. I was really excited. You and I talked about it, in fact, last year, an artist like LL Cool J, who had been on the ballot a number of times and was able to get in under, the Musical Excellence Award.
And how great was he the entire weekend, by the way? I think he took over Cleveland.
Yeah, agreed. And you were at the museum when he was up on stage with us during the day at the museum. He made a great speech there just to the crowd who was in house, talking about how great it was to be honored. I was backstage with him even, and you could see just even how excited he was to be with the Go-Go's, to talk to Clarence Avant, who was, this guy who was such an important part of music management and helping other artists. Someone like LL Cool J, you could just tell he was so excited to be inducted and really embrace the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it's cool to see that. So I think you'll see, if your favorite artist didn't get back on, we've talked about one of the ones I keep saying I would love to see inducted is Iron Maiden. Well, this year we got Judas Priest. Let's see if Priest has a chance to get in that new wave of British heavy metal. And then maybe we'll swing back to Iron Maiden.
I love it. I love it, Jason. Man, you've been so good with your time. Thank you. Obviously, the fan vote is open now, right? Through April
open
29th.
Now. Go on. It's already started. I checked it before I came on here. Cool. So it's open. Go to rockhall.com and you can log in every day and vote for your favorite and help out those artists that you're really interested in. I think, the fan vote gets an official ballot that gets cast at the end of the process, but it also brings a lot of attention to the artists that you're interested in. So those names get talked about even by people who have ballots and are voters.
Yeah.
I know a lot of them look now at the fan vote to say, hey, I might consider voting for this artist. I can see how much the fans are coming out and supporting them.
Amazing. Jason, I can't let you go without asking you, Baker Mayfield, what do we do with Baker? Do we pay him?
I say keep him. I'll go on record. I think the fans are forgetting we had several seasons where we only won one game across like 2 or 3 seasons. Baker was injured. The team was sort of in a mess. My vote, Jamie, let's hang on to him, give him another season and see where he goes. That's my official opinion.
Jason Hanley, we love you. You know that. Have a great day. Get some coffee. Thanks for everything you do, Jason. We appreciate you so much, man.
Thank you, Jamie. Right back at you. Great seeing you, man.